Hi, I'm Andy Powell. I thought it'd be a good idea to address voting since the primary election in Yavapai County on the 30th, which is this coming Tuesday. I've met a lot of people that have a standard of, oh, I don't really share who I vote for. Or I don't show you my ballot or anything like that. It's private. It's secret. I get the reason for that under certain circumstances, but right now, I think it's more important than ever that we have the conversation of like, who are we all voting for and why? So I'm going to break down the Republican primary ballot for Yavapai County according to where I live. Maybe this will be helpful to somebody who doesn't know anything about the candidates. I'll tell you who I'm voting for and why. And I encourage everybody to do their own vetting as much as possible before you fill in the bubble on your ballot. Right now, our nation is on the brink of destruction, and it is crucial. If we're even going to be America, we need to use our sacred vote, our sacred right to vote, take responsibility. But for some reason, our focus is always on, national politics, the things that are furthest away from us. Let's focus on our own backyard. I think that's super important. I did as many interviews as I could fit in this year before the 30th. First thing on the ballot is U.S. Senator. I have to change my ballot now. I have filled out my ballot and I put Kari Lake, and then I learned this stuff about Mark Lamb. So I'm actually changing my vote from Kari Lake to Mark Lamb this time around. U.S. Congressman District 2. Hopefully you already know who Eli Crane is. He's the best one we have right now, in my opinion. Former Navy SEAL. If you want to hear more of his story, you can listen to that on the Jocko podcast. His personal story of his time in the military and growing up and starting a business, all this stuff. Really good stuff. He has already proven himself. He represents the people. Doesn't matter what he wants. It matters most what we say. And he's listening to that, and he's taking that forward to Washington, and he is holding his ground for his people, for us people. He's doing an exceptional job. He should maintain. He's setting the standard right now for what it is to represent the people. I'm voting for Eli Crane. Next up, we have State Senator for District 1. I interviewed all three gentlemen running for this position. We have Mark Fincham, we have Steve Zipperman, and we have Ken Bennett. Steve Zipperman is who I'm voting for. I've had hours of conversation with him. I did a podcast with him. He is a constitutional conservative, and I tried to, I put his feet to the fire. He passed my test, so I'll vote for him. Now, Mark Fincham is kind of a close second, and I'll tell you why I mean kind of. If Steve Zipperman wasn't running, I'd definitely be voting for Mark Fincham. However, 64% of his funding comes from out of state. He moved up here in order to run. It doesn't all flow smoothly to me the way that Mark Fincham has kind of come in here. It seems to me that if he's an establishment guy, which he may be, then he's coming in here to possibly split the vote. That might be the intention. I don't know. But he is actually endorsed by Trump, which this endorsement came shortly after spending about $53,000 at Mar-a-Lago. Some people say that he purchased the endorsement. The next one is going to be State Representative for District 1. You can pick 2 out of 3 of these. We have Quang Nguyen, who is in the position now, Selena Bliss, who is in the position now, and Shondell Wildman. My vote is actually going to be for Shondell Wildman and Selena Bliss. I think all 3 of them are great candidates, so we'll see who gets it. The next one is Corporation Commissioner. You vote for, you choose 3. To be honest, at this point, I don't even know what the Corporation Commission does. So we have Leah Marquez Peterson, Rachel Walden, Renee Lopez. I filled in all 3 bubbles because those are the only options to my knowledge. It does give you the option to write somebody in. However, I don't know who I would write in because I don't even know what these jobs are for. So the next one is, I'm in District 1. So this is going to be for the Board of Supervisors. And this is a very important role, I've learned. and there's one per district. So you have 5 people directing the money of the county: David McNabb, Greg Mangarelli, Deb Pernice, and Brooks Compton. So I'm going to rule these out real quick and tell you exactly why. Brooks Compton, absolutely not. And the reason is because he has financial ties with David Stringer. You can see that there is a deed of trust between those two in the county public record. So we'll get into who Stringer is momentarily, but Brooks Compton is definitely a no because of his ties with David Stringer. Next would be David McNabb. He also is a supporter of Stringer. David Stringer owns Prescott E-News, so I believe that David McNabb works part-time sometimes for Prescott E-News, so he's paid by Stringer. So there's a financial tie there as well. Either way, he supports Stringer, which automatically disqualifies him, in my view. The last two are Greg Mangarelli and Deb Pernice. So Greg Mangarelli used to be the mayor of Prescott. Rumors and stuff. I talked to the guy on the phone for probably about 5, maybe 10 minutes. The rumor about him being pro development is rather untrue, and the reason that he told me is for the past 20 something years, Prescott area has been growing at about 2% each year, which is pretty normal. And then it spiked when COVID happened, and he happened to be in the mayor's seat at that time. So other people are saying, hey, you want all this growth, or you support all this growth, or allow all this growth. I don't know that he does, but I also don't fully know that he doesn't. Deb Pernice, I had a brief conversation with her on the phone, trying to learn about her as well. I know that she comes from California and was involved a little bit politically over there. I wasn't impacted greatly by her, thinking, wow, this is the most exceptional candidate out of the 4. In my opinion, out of these 4, Greg Mangarelli's the guy. So I will be voting for Greg Mangarelli because I don't know that there's a better option. And to be honest, I'm not really super stoked about that vote. Next on the list is County Assessor. You can only vote for one for the Republican primary. It's Judd Simmons, so I filled in that bubble. Don't know a thing about Judd Simmons. Never met the person. County Attorney. All right, so this is an important one. So David Stringer is running for County Attorney. So this is coming from a Phoenix New Times article. Police report. David Stringer molested children, including disabled teen. I don't think that anybody like this should be allowed to be in politics. So you can go to Phoenix New Times to find that article. And that is why I am opposed to David Stringer not only winning, but running at all, or holding any kind of power or influence or control. He owns Prescott E-News. So, in my opinion, that's a problem, and we should not put somebody in the position of county attorney that has those tendencies or proclivities or preferences or whatever the hell you want to call it. So I will be voting for Dennis McGrain, who is currently the county attorney. I don't know much about him. Both of these men who are running for county attorney have spent an exceptional amount of money. David Stringer's campaign finance report says that this election cycle alone, he spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $186,000 trying to get elected to county attorney. And Dennis McGrain is not too far behind at $140,000 spending to get reelected. It's a huge number to me, but I guess if you're trying to prevent somebody like David Stringer from getting in, you'd want to spend the money. I'm voting for Dennis McGrain because of what I just said about David Stringer. So next up is the county recorder, Michelle Burchell. She's wonderful. She does a great job. She is sincere. She did a podcast with me, and there's a lot of good information about the Yavapai County voting and how it all works. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to her and she'll answer your questions. She's fantastic. I'll vote for her. So county school superintendent, we have Kara Woods and Steve King. I don't know much about either of these people. I briefly met Kara Woods. She was kind of quiet. Asked for a signature. Her husband was caught tearing down the opponent's campaign signs, which is hilarious to me. It's funny that he got caught doing it. So I'll be voting for Kara Woods, mostly because she's the only one I've had contact with, and I don't know anything about Steve King. Next up is county sheriff. This is a contentious one. So I interviewed the current county sheriff. I interviewed Douglas Eckenrod, who is running for sheriff. And I interviewed the other gentleman who was running for sheriff, John Wright, who did not make it on the ballot. Where I stand in regards to the sheriff race, you can go back and watch any of the episodes having to do with Yavapai County Sheriff's Office or David Rhodes. So I will be voting for Douglas Eckenrod. I think he is a fantastic choice. I've had several hours worth of conversation with Douglas Eckenrod. We did 2 different podcasts together. I did one with David Rhodes. He did not like the questions I was asking. He turned very dark after I started asking questions that either he wasn't prepared for or didn't want to hear. And one of the biggest issues with my conversation with David Rhodes is that after the conversation ended, he proposed that he would be willing to do this podcast again if I changed the questions or sent him the questions ahead of time. And then later on, I sent him an email offering to not publish that podcast recording that he did with me if he was willing to do a mediated debate between John Wright, Doug Eckenrod, and himself, mediated by me. He never got back to me, so I published the podcast that we did, and here we are. So I'll be voting for Douglas Eckenrod. I think he'd be a fantastic choice. County Treasurer, Chip Davis. I don't know anything about Chip Davis, but I'm voting for him, which is really, really a bad example, but he's the only one for that position on the Republican primary ballot. And then we have Judge of Superior Court, District 4. Then we have District 5, District 7, and District 8. Each of these you vote for only one. I will be voting for Henry Whitmer, and there are 2 things I know about him. I had a brief conversation with him. I liked him. He was personable, and he is actually going up against a judge who has been appointed by our so-called governor, Katie Hobbs. So anybody that Katie Hobbs appoints, I think, is probably not good for the people. So I really hope that Henry Whitmer gets that position. Then District 7, Michael Bluff. I don't know anything about Michael Bluff. So that is it. That's all the voting, all the stuff that I have for this election cycle's ballot. No, I think it's super important to do vetting. I really wish that I could have interviewed more of these people or interviewed them more than once. Do your own research. Do the best you can. Please educate yourself. This is seriously one of the most important things that we can do as Americans. This and owning a gun and several other things. You need to exercise your rights because people are trying to take them every day. People are trying to take them every day. Well, that's all I got for now. Make sure you get out there and vote this Tuesday, July 30th, before 7 p.m. U.S. Senator Mark Lamb, U.S. Congressman District 2, Eli Crane, State Senate District 1, Steve Zipperman, State Representative District 1, Shondell Wildman and Selena Bliss, Corporation Commissioner Leah Marquez Peterson, Rachel Walden, and Renee Lopez, Board of Supervisors District 1, Greg Mangarelli, County Assessor Judd Simmons, County Attorney Dennis McGrain, County Recorder Michelle Burchell, School Superintendent Kara Woods, County Sheriff Douglas Eckenrod, County Treasurer Chip Davis, Judge of the Superior Court District 4 Krista Carmen, District 5 Henry Whitmer, District 7 Michael Bluff. God bless America.